Peculiar Mort was perhaps the most beautiful young woman in the small town of Moonlight Cove. Yet, what made her so beautiful wasn't her mere physical appearance, it was her lovely heart. She was adored by many, but her heart and her love belonged to Sebastian Williams. But he didn't even know she existed. "Good morning," her mother said while leaning over the bed and kissing her on the cheek. "Good morning, Mother." Peculiar sat forward and stretched the stiffness from her body. Today was her first day of high school. She couldn't have been happier. "Don't forget, we are making the trip to Salem this weekend." She inhaled deeply and smiled as her eyes closed. Peculiar adored Salem. The witches there were so free, so unencumbered to be who they were there, unlike her hometown of Moonlight Cove. After dressing, Peculiar slipped into the widow's watch, one of two small ones that adorned her family's house that overlooked the sea. She loved the thought of it, of sitting there and watching the ships as they left the port and disappeared on the horizon. She often dreamt of some poor, lovelorn lady in days long past who sat in the same chair, looking out the same window, as she waited for her captain to come home. "Pecky, are you ready?" Sean shouted. Sean Gregory Mort, her older brother, who was now a senior in high school, was ready to walk his sister to school. They both attended Moonlight Cove Academy, a prestigious school for those who were considered to be a bit of a paranormal nature. Sean was destined to become a sentinel, a watcher of sorts, who oversaw the lives of the many vampires, werewolves, and witches that called Moonlight Cove their home. Yes, there were many of them worldwide, but certain cities laid claim to them now. It was not like it was in the old country where witches, werewolves, and vampires could roam freely. The Inquisition put an end to that. So now they chose the cities friendly toward their kind. Milan, London, Moonlight Cove. They were but a few of 13 cities who loved and adored their paranormal cousins. "I'm coming." Peculiar Mort had her own sense of style. She loved black skirts and always wore a colored fitted blouse with little black granny boots. Her favorite item to wear, though, was her vividly colored stockings, sometimes striped, sometimes covered in stars. Those stockings of hers always bore some sort of design. Today, she chose a purple blouse and purple and black striped stockings for her first day of her final years at the academy. "You and those stockings," Sean commented, then laughed while shaking his head as she bounded down the steps. "I wish you would wear blue more often. It highlights those icy blue eyes of yours and makes them sparkle." "Blue is the color of sadness," she quipped quickly. "I have far too much to do in my life to have time for tears." "Where's your medallion?" he asked, looking at her neck. "Oh, don't leave without me." Peculiar dashed up the stairs to her room and snatched the Celtic Triskelion off her dresser, quickly fastened it around her neck, and hurried back down the steps. Sean wore a medallion too. His was an Egyptian ankh with an eye of Horus in the middle, with detailing in gold and green enamel. "I hate having to wear these. Why can't we just be us and not be defined by who they think we should be?" Peculiar was a bit of a rebel and didn't like to follow the rules of Moonlight Cove, which often led to a special convening of the Council of Moonlight Immortals to decide her punishment. And that was Moonlight Cove in a nutshell. You were born, you were assigned your place, and you lived it just as it was dictated. Witches and sentinels had been in the Mort family line since they arrived on the Mayflower. The women were notably witches, with an occasional sentinel tossed in the mix. The men nearly all became sentinels. A male witch was a rarity and highly prized occasion when it happened. If you refused to accept your family heritage, you were forced out of Moonlight Cove forever.